My parents paid for my sister's entire college education. When it was my turn, they said, "We can't afford it." So I paid my own way until the day the dean called my name, and they realized what they missed. In my family, support wasn't equal. It was selective. My sister, Emma, was always the investment. Private tutors, extracurriculars, college fund carefully built over years. Everything she needed to succeed. She had it, and my parents made sure everyone knew it. "She's going places," my mom would say proudly. "She just needs the right opportunities," my dad would add. And they gave her all of them. Me, I was the independent one, the one who didn't need as much. At least, that's what they told themselves. When college applications came around, I worked just as hard as my sister. Late nights, extra classes, balancing school with part-time work. Not because I wanted to, because I had to. I knew early on that nothing was going to be handed to me. Still, I applied. Same schools, same ambitions, same hope. When the acceptance letters came in, we both got into great programs. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, holding my letter, trying not to smile too much. "This is amazing," I said. My mom glanced at it briefly. "That's good," she replied. Then she turned to my sister. "And yours?" Emma handed over her letter. Same school, same acceptance, but the reaction? Completely different. "Oh my God, this is perfect," my mom said, practically glowing. My dad smiled wide. "We'll call them tomorrow about tuition," he said. I sat there quietly, waiting, because surely they would say the same to me. They didn't. Instead, my dad looked at me and said, "You'll need to figure out your own expenses." I blinked. "What? We can't afford both," my mom added. "But you've been saving for years," I said. "For her," my dad replied. Just like that. Clear. Final. I felt something sink in my chest. "So what am I supposed to do?" I asked. My mom shrugged slightly. "You're resourceful." That word. Again. Not support. Not help. Just expectation. I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said, because arguing wouldn't change anything. It never did. So I made a decision that night. If they weren't going to invest in me, I would. I took out loans, applied for every scholarship I could find, worked part-time jobs that turned into full-time hours during breaks. It wasn't easy. It wasn't fun, but it was mine. Every class I passed, every grade I earned, every step forward, I knew I had done it on my own, and that changed something, not just in my life, but in how I saw myself, because I wasn't the one they chose. I was the one who chose to keep going anyway. And 4 years later, that difference was about to matter more than anyone expected. College wasn't what I imagined. Not at first. It wasn't the movies. No carefree weekends. No easy balance. It was work. Constant. Relentless. Classes during the day. Shifts in the evening. Studying late into the night. Repeating it all over again the next morning. While other students talked about internships their parents helped them get, I was figuring out how to cover next semester's books. While my sister called home about dorm upgrades and study abroad plans, I was calculating how many extra hours I needed to afford rent. We were at the same university, living completely different realities. At first, I tried to keep in touch, called home, texted updates, shared grades, but the responses were always short. "That's good. Keep it up. No complaints, right?" Meanwhile, my sister's achievements were celebrated, posted, shared, talked about. Eventually, I stopped calling as much, not out of anger, just understanding. They had already decided where their attention belonged. So I put mine where it mattered. My work, my classes, my future. And slowly, things started to change. I found my rhythm, discovered subjects I didn't just understand, but excelled in. Professors noticed, not because I was loud, but because I was consistent, focused, driven. I wasn't just passing, I was leading. One professor pulled me aside after class one day. "Have you considered applying for the honors program?" she asked. I blinked. "Me?" She smiled. "Yes, you." I hesitated. "I don't know if I can afford." "Apply," she said. "We'll figure the rest out." So I did, and I got in. That opened doors I didn't even know existed. Research opportunities, academic recognition, scholarships I hadn't qualified for before. For the first time, things weren't just hard. They were working. By my third year, I was at the top of my class. Not close. At the top. I didn't tell my parents right away. I wasn't hiding it. I just didn't see the point, because success without support feels different. Quieter. More personal. Something you hold for yourself instead of share. Still, word got around. Eventually, my mom called. "I heard you're doing well," she said. "I am." "That's good." A pause. Then, "Your sister's thinking about switching majors again." Of course she was. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. "Okay." That was the whole conversation. That was when it fully clicked. They weren't going to see me. Not really. Not until something forced them to. And by then, it might be too late. Senior year came faster than I expected. Everything felt heavier, more final, more important. Applications, final projects, graduation approaching. One afternoon, I got an email from the administration office. Subject line, academic honors notification. I opened it, expecting something small. Maybe a mention, a certificate. Instead, I read the first line twice, then a third time, because it didn't feel real. "We are pleased to inform you that you have been selected as this year's valedictorian." I sat there, staring at the screen. All the nights, all the work, all the times I almost gave up. It had led to this, not just success, recognition, at the highest level. For a long time, I didn't tell anyone. Not immediately. I just let it sit, let it mean something to me first. Then, a week before graduation, I sent a simple message to my parents. "Graduation is next Friday. You're invited if you want to come." No explanation, no details, just that. They replied within the hour. "Of course we'll be there." For the first time in years, they didn't hesitate. And as I stared at that message, I realized something. They were finally showing up, but not because they understood the journey, because they were about to see the result. And when the dean stepped up to that podium and called my name, it wasn't just going to be a moment. It was going to be the moment everything they thought about me changed. Graduation day felt unreal. I spotted my parents in the crowd, sitting quietly watching. For once they were there for me. Names were called one by one, applause rising and falling. Then the dean stepped forward. "And now, our valedictorian." My heart pounded. Then he said my name. The room erupted. I walked to the stage, steady, calm. Took the microphone, looked out at everyone, and then at them. "I paid my own way to get here," I said. The room grew quiet, but I never walked alone. I paused. I just learned early who was actually there. I stepped back, handing over the mic. No anger, no bitterness, just truth. Afterward, I passed by my parents. They looked at me differently, like they were seeing me for the first time. But I didn't stop, because I hadn't done all of this to be noticed. I did it to become someone they couldn't overlook anymore. And finally, they couldn't.